everybody, it's Eri from Tokyo. This is your cryptocurrency update from Japan. And I think if you own XRP and have been in the space for a long time or a very short time, this is going to be a fun video for you. I want to explain something. Yesterday, I did a tweet that I just had no idea I was going to get such a response. And that was, I wanted to be sure that no one was going to send me any more of those years past videos of Christine Lagarde, Ryan Zagone, or Miguel Villas, because we have graduated to a new era. This is a totally different landscape. And yes, for God's sakes, please don't show me that 2017 Everest NTT data presentation anymore. And I'm going to show you exactly why that is how I feel in this video. 2017, that was the Stone Age. So, Christine, I just think, and it's my opinion, that in this video that circulated quite a bit around the XRP community, I don't think she was talking about XRP at all. I think she was talking about the central bank digital currencies, the CBDCs. Have a listen. It is kind of quiet. I've got it up as far as it goes, so it'll play really short here.
I think the role of the disruptors and anything that is using distributed ledger technology, whether you call it crypto assets, currencies, or whatever, and it's far from the bitcoins that we used to talk about a year ago.
So the fact that the IMF was talking about digital assets, it was really at that time quite amazing because they were embracing this digital transformation. But again, I don't think this is something that needs to continue to circulate because the space is really changing. And yes, I do agree that Ripple had a big influence on the thinking that the IMF had. We have this very famous photograph that came from the IMF, and you can see Mr. Garlinghouse is standing here, and then there is Ms. Chen here, who used to be with Ripple, and then Christine Lagarde, who was the managing director of the IMF at that time in April 2019. You know, this was a really great photograph to see that Ripple was in this circle. And then we have also from 2018 the event that took place in Singapore when Mr. Garlinghouse sat next to Ross Lacow, who they obviously have this friendly exchange. And he was the IMF deputy general counsel at the time, and he might still be, but they were obviously very familiar with each other and quite frankly, having a lot of fun with the question and answer period, which it's great. It's great. But I want to just point you into what's happening now with the IMF. And thanks to Kriakopoulos, which is a very difficult Greek word name. I just know I probably said that pretty bad. I wanted to thank him for sharing something with me, and I'm going to share it with you. And it's pointing, to something that is a bit more current. The IMF is going to hold a virtual event on October 19th. And it is going to be with the new IMF director, that is Kristalina Georgieva, and the topic is cross-border payments, a vision for the future. And joining her will be the governor of Saudi Arabia, the monetary authority from Saudi Arabia, and Augustine Carstens. He's the GM for the Bank of International Settlements. There's going to be Jerome Powell, which is very interesting since he's the chair of the Federal Reserve, and then the governor of the Central Bank of Malaysia. After that, they're going to continue on for 2 hours from 9 to 11 a.m. And it, I think, is going to get even more interesting as they talk about the cross-border payments and the private sector stepping up, and also the public sector's role. I'm very interested in seeing this. Now, second point in my tweet was all about liquidity. And the liquidity, according to this Modern Consensus article, which occurred on August 25th, it is still very much a big hurdle for XRP, especially when it comes to using the digital asset for on-demand liquidity. it's not where it needs to be in order for the use of the digital asset to go way beyond just a few liquid corridors. We need to see 30 to 50 really liquid corridors. So when Miguel Villas got out, in came Aditya Trakya. And this is a person who was formerly with Goldman Sachs. And I cannot find really any information on what he's doing so far at Ripple. Now, he's only been in this position since August, and I can find lots of his wedding photographs, which, by the way, his wife is just stunning. She's so beautiful. Yeah, there's tons of wedding pictures that occurred in January, and there's even a really fun video. I mean, there's lots of wedding fluff out there, but I can't find anything when we're talking about building those international markets with liquidity for XRP. That's really what I want to know. And I am keeping an eye on this. Really, I'm sweeping the space, and he's somehow just kind of going under the radar. So he took that position, like I said, back in August, and he is based out of London. I will continue to do my sweeps, but I really do hope that he is maybe going to present at Swell. That would be pretty wonderful. Now, liquidity can be built in many ways, and it has different shapes based on the use case. Giant Gox reminded me today on Twitter about SBI. SBI took a stake in Clear Markets, and they are building the market swaps in Singapore to expand the demand of crypto assets as well as improve liquidity. The swap market is necessary for risk control, and that is what is really important for the institutional investor. And anytime that at Giant Gox speaks, he is just a big leader in the XRP community here in Japan. I know he has extreme knowledge with Ripple and XRP, so I listen very closely when he makes any comments. So this is one way that we are seeing that increased liquidity being built. And here's another way. And this is an announcement that came from SBI just yesterday. And they're going to create, this is fun, an esports team in Japan to challenge the world, and a portion of the salary for those team players is going to be paid out in XRP. No, this is not a publicity stunt. This is really going to also be another way to add liquidity to the market. SBI VC Trade is going to be their sponsor. And the goal is to, according to the official release, is to improve price and to expand liquidity. Every little bit helps. This is the man who is going to lead that project. That is Masatoshi Kotani. And here he is on top of Mont Blanc, which is the second highest mountain in the Alps. Yeah, kind of straddling between France and Italy. 4,800 meters or 15,774 feet above sea level. I don't have, I got altitude sickness once at 10,000. I know I can't do 15,000 feet, but Masatoshi-kun, good luck and build a really good team. I think your project is going to be very fun to follow. Now, NTT and other big Japanese companies, they see promise in esports as per this Nikkei Asian article. The Nikkei is like the Wall Street Journal of Japan. This is an article that was written on the 28th of September. And the scale of the global esports market is in the billions, and it's growing exponentially because of mostly prize money that's driven by the sponsorship advertising. Really, that it is a new form of gold for advertisers, and so the sponsorship money is getting to be huge. And Minecraft, this is another big announcement. They are one of the top 5 games in the world. They have this new token that's going to be issued through Engine. That's a platform. And it's launching early in 2021, and it's in a collaboration with the Japanese exchange CoinCheck. I think that this project, Engine, which I've never paid attention to before, but now it's on my radar, and I think we want to keep an eye on this. And speaking of NTT, so now we get really down to why I'm going to tell you that there shouldn't be so much focus on this particular slide that is from 2017. This is Everest, and Everest is a small company that's owned by NTT Data in Spain. This was part of their Spanish division who put this together. And yeah, it was really impressive. You know, it's one of those things like, oh my gosh, everything runs on Ripple. Well, just remember that I've said before, and I'm going to say again, that the Everest, their focus has shifted greatly. All right. And I think that's why I don't want to see that presentation anymore. I want everyone to stay current. And I think showing it leads people into an area of the space that has completely changed. They were named by Microsoft as the partner of the year for 2020 this last July, and they are bringing what's called Trade Waltz to the world. And it's really a platform that is going to be a trade finance platform, and it's built on Hyperledger. It's a Hyperledger solution. And the first place I think they're going to bring it is to MUFG Bank. That is the #1 bank in Japan. It's the 3rd largest bank in the world. And this global trade ecosystem is on their blockchain. October 8th, if you want, you can join their webinar and see how their solution is planned to change not only Asia, but the whole world. It's very similar to what Alibaba, the company, and their subsidiary Ant just announced. I did a video on that. It too is a trade finance platform for the small to medium-sized businesses. And if you didn't catch it, you might want to catch it, because this is very similar to what Everest is now doing. So you can find this, by the way, on my Twitter feed. It was something I uploaded on the 27th. So Trade Waltz, they are going to have teams around the world driving deployment into the market. They'll have full commercialization of this in 2020. This is why continuing to highlight that 2017 presentation is misleading people. I don't like it. I really don't. And I think we all must stay current on how this space changes. Yes, Ripple and NTT Data, they did build something that's called the Quilt, and that provides interoperability with a Java implementation of the Interledger protocol, enabling payments across a payment network with fiat or with crypto in a very agnostic manner with Hyperledger. So don't worry, I'm paying attention to this detail too, but please follow that project along with me, and let's just see if they are going to use the Hyperledger Quilt so that possibly the payments by XRP can be utilized. But at this present time, I don't see anything of the sorts. So when it comes to Transferwise, because that is where Zagone went, I'm going to really bring you a deep dive on this company. because they have never shown any interest in working with Ripple. And they are a company whose profits have doubled this last year because they do things very differently. And I will do a video on this, but I'm not going to talk about it in this particular video. I want to tell you, though, really, bottom line is I am still very bullish on XRP. And I just heard Ethan Beard talk from San Francisco. He's the Senior Vice President of Xpring. This is a video or an audio podcast that just came out like within the last, it's only been a few hours, just 22 views when I stumbled on it. And Ethan, has worked for Facebook and Google. He could work anywhere. He chooses to work for Ripple. And when you hear about how he talks about the digital asset XRP in a way that it's an amazing settlement vehicle, as well as what they are doing to drive the utility of this digital asset in multiple ways, I want to play for you this portion so that you can really understand why I am so bullish on Ripple the company and XRP the digital asset. You can have a listen to this short portion here.
Sure. So we fast forward to most recently, I've looked at XRP as this amazing settlement vehicle. So XRP is very, very fast. You can move a transaction in the order of 2 or 3 seconds. It's very, very cheap, close to free, fractions of a penny to move kind of any amount of value. And so we really looked at and said, how can you take that and apply it to the world of payments broadly? And we really have kind of 2 strategies for this. The first is kind of core Ripple strategy. So we have a product called RippleNet. It's an enterprise software product. We sell it to financial institutions and allows them to, in essence, focus on cross-border payments and easily tap into XRP to enable very fast international payments, cross-border payments.
Yep. So now, bring this full circle and to your initiative called Xpring, or spelled XPRING, but
Correct.
pronounced Xpring if I have it correctly. And how does Xpring work? What is your goal with Xpring? Where are you in the kind of overall deployment of Xpring now?
So about a little over a year ago, we started to look out, and we've seen a lot of momentum with our core product, RippleNet. We now have over 200 banks. Kind of one of our flagship customers is a company called MoneyGram, which is really one of the leading global remittance providers and payment networks. And so that business is growing great. And we think cross-border is a huge business. The amount of activity there is massive. At the same time, we think that XRP can be applied to a lot of other use cases. And so we started this initiative last year when I joined the company called Xpring, really focused on building a community and an ecosystem of companies that are tapping into XRP to really power global payments outside of cross-border payments. I wouldn't say necessarily exclusively. We're interested in all payments, but really looking to not just have the single kind of focus on cross-border payments.
Yep.
So we started a year ago, and it was just 2 of us on the team. And so we really set out and we started, in essence, doing investments and strategic partnerships with a bunch of companies in the space. So over the course of a year or so, we probably invested in over 20 companies. We've committed over $500 million in capital to a variety of different companies.
And how do you determine what's a good fit? What are the kind of sizes of investments you're making? And is that going to change over time?
So we've written checks that range from small 6-digit checks to 9-digit checks. And a lot of it actually, to be honest, we've been trying to really sort out. We spent the first year really just trying to get a lay of the land, trying to understand how can we work well with these companies, what's going on out there. And so some of our investing was very specifically on companies that are directly using XRP. Some of it was also just investing in amazing teams that are working in interesting areas that we find fascinating and teams that we want to be able to work with in the future.
So when you have this kind of focus and this kind of serious money put towards driving the success of the digital asset XRP, how can you not be bullish on this project? Because there's a lot more to it than just remittances going cross borders. He does go on to talk about more about the gaming industry. I'm going to put a link to this podcast in the description below. I really recommend the entire 49 minutes, but I know that this is about all I can do for you today. And so don't worry. This is a very, very exciting space and a very, very good project with a lot of potential. All right, everybody, do take care. Sayonara for now. Bye-bye.